is truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live. Status Coup in the house. Right here in the United Corporations of America. The flag. Ooh, I think the flag needs a little clean. It's looking a little corroded, just like this country that's more like a corporation. If you haven't been paying attention, 9 days. Just 9 days until the economic cliff. Where's that cliff that Colin made? There it is. If there was like a independent media award for innovative graphics, would we even need to have the contest? Colin Tooley? Look at, I mean, every day, just amazing graphics. Terrific. If you don't know what I'm talking about, July 26th is the expiration of the $600 unemployment expansion, the $600 unemployment expansion, which not everybody has gotten. And once that's up, well, people are screwed. And as far as we know, they're not even going to start talking about this. They, meaning the Democrats and Republicans, until next week. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. 200 people watching already. If you got the text, because we're live, that means you're on our text list. If you didn't get a text message, that means you're not on our text list. Please do the patriotic thing. Text COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370 so you could join our text list. We very, very much appreciate it. That way we could get around this YouTube suppression, which has been hitting us hard. So let's begin with the cliff that's coming. If you can't keep up with the news because there's so much, and make sure you press that like button right under the live stream. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream video. 220 people watching already, but just 117 have pressed the like button. So let's get those numbers up. Now. Super Chat is open, by the way, so keep it coming if you can. Europe did something very radical when the coronavirus hit. They focused on stopping the virus as a way to make sure that the economy didn't fall off a cliff. How did they do it? The government just paid payrolls for companies. There wasn't mass unemployment. The government just stepped in. They printed the money, however Europe prints the money, and they backstopped the payrolls. So on one end, they could focus exclusively on the virus, that tyranny that Italy did, locking down the country for 3 weeks to a month, which definitely brought down the virus. I think now in all of Italy, I've seen the other day, maybe like 150 cases. Way down. Wait, what? Why 9 days? Mona, stick with me. I'm about to tell you. And please smash that like button. The more people press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. So Europe took care of its citizens, and as a result, the virus is significantly, they're not, setting records every day 4 months into this like the United Corporations of America is. Unlike Europe, we did something a little different. I understand JIRA, MMT. I am an advocate of MMT, but I'm living in the world as it is now, not the world as it should be. So unfortunately, we don't have Stephanie Kelton as the Treasury Secretary. I'd love her to be. By the way, Stephanie, if you're watching, I've reached out to you several times. I want to interview you. Oh, wait, are we live on Twitter too? I forgot to retweet myself. Oh, so much to do. So, basically, Dan Snyder is the number one Twitter. Did the bomb drop?
I told you.
Yeah, but I only saw one article, so we'll see. So, basically, here, we did a patchwork bunch of temporary measures. We sent out $1,200 checks, which not everybody even got, which people spent in 10 seconds to basically stop drowning. So the $1,200 was like a Band-Aid for a gunshot wound. And then expansion of unemployment, $600 a week, actually a good measure, which should have been not set for expiration. It should have just been a replenishable. So if you're making the $600 a week on unemployment plus whatever your unemployment already was, it should have just been a replenishable measurement until the virus was gone. No expiration until medical experts and government could agree it is safe to go back. But no, it was set for an expiration, coincidentally in an election year. And again, those $1,200 checks, long gone. The $600 unemployment expansion saved a lot of people's hides, has kept people afloat. I have interviewed many of them around the country, thanks to you, by the way, now at 1,735 members. So we hope you'll consider signing up today. We're not going to have our members call tonight. I will explain why in a little bit. A couple announcements to make, but we're not going to have our members call tonight. You'll get why later. It's not because of laziness. So, July 26th, the unemployment rate expires. The unemployment expansion of that $600 extra a week, if you've been lucky enough to get it, gone, expires. I don't know, for the last several weeks, it's been apparent that the cases are getting worse in Arizona, in Florida, in Texas, now in Louisiana, Louisville after I left, Kentucky after I left, skyrocketed. By the way, I just got my latest COVID test. You don't know this, but every time I travel, I come back and I have to take a COVID test because obviously I don't want to get my girlfriend sick. So I went to get a COVID test. There's a huge backlog, so it took a week just to get the results, but I was negative, knock on wood. So amid all this, expiration, if you have that expanded $600, it expires in 9 days. If you had that $1,200 check, it ain't looking like you're getting another $1,200 check. Moratoriums on evictions in many states are beginning to expire now. Today, another 1.3 million workers filed for unemployment. Now 51 million have filed for unemployment. By the way, I don't believe the numbers that have been put out. Some bullshit study that only 5.6 million workers have lost their health care. 51 million jobless claims. I'm gonna guess. Might not be 51 million have lost their health care, but I'm gonna put it closer to 30 to 40 million have lost their health care. Because if you think unemployment offices are overrun on the state level trying to fill claims, go try to get on Medicaid right now. I just spoke with a friend, can't even get a human being on the phone. So 51 million people have filed for unemployment, right? Estimated 30 to 40 million people have lost their health care. Thank you, Pete Buttigieg, for the sacred choice of Medicare for all you want. California, now on essentially lockdown again. Everything's shut down. By the way, the super chat is open. Don't be shy. Just keep it real. Yet, all of this, again, think about it. If you've lost your job, there's not a lot of jobs open right now. People are just rummaging for jobs. There are no jobs. Even if there were, a lot of businesses haven't even been able to float on the PPP loan. So all of this happening in a normal country, you would have Congress or Parliament or whatever in there yesterday taking immediate action. But we don't live in a country. We live in the United Corporations of America. And right now, the Senate's on recess. Yeah, 9 days until millions of Americans have their unemployment insurance expire. And the crazy part about this, Dave Dayen over at American Prospect put it well. So Jeff Stein, who's a pretty decent economics reporter at Washington Post, wrote, "Never say never, but at this point, I think it's basically impossible to imagine Congress signing a bill into law before enhanced unemployment benefits expire in 9 days. Some talk they could backdate a benefit increase, but I'm unsure exactly how that would work." And Dave pointed out, it's going to expire. McConnell was talking about, quote, the next 3 weeks and an August 7th deadline for a bill. The benefits are done July 25th or 26th. Was hard enough for state unemployment systems to spin up the federal enhancement. Now spinning it down and then back up again? And he also brings up this great point. And what does this mean for people with claims in limbo, where they will eventually get processed and the state unemployment system will have to factor in A, weeks with 600, B, weeks with nothing, and C, weeks with some other figure less than $600. Yep. Let me translate that for you. If Mitch McConnell is talking about August 7th, thank you, Kelly Elaine, $5 in the super chat. By the way, we got 400 people watching. Smash that like button. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream. Very important information. Again, 9 days till catastrophe. I'm not being dramatic. It's going to be catastrophe for millions and millions of people. Swirly swirl $5. People in comfy places will be shocked when unemployment benefits end and evictions begin. Insert surprise Pikachu face. Oh, I wish there was a surprise Pikachu face. All of this, Donald Trump going around taking photo ops with Goya beans, as well as his daughter. Joe Biden, I don't know what he's doing. He's coming out and making Build Back America proposals. He's not sounding the alarm that I have seen. He's just bashing Trump, which is the easiest thing to do right now. But is he calling for some type of consistent, permanent solution until this is up? Because the bottom line is, you can't keep doing short-term extensions of things during a pandemic that is not a short-term thing. I'm sorry, folks, but this thing is not short-term. We're not on the second wave. We never left the first wave. It could have been short-term if our government would have its shit together. But let's also not pretend here. I hate to say it. President Trump deserves a whole lot of fault. The most fault. The buck stops with him. But, Governor Andrew Cuomo, who Rachel Maddow, CNN, elevated to, patron Saint Jesus, he acted too slowly. He did not shut down the New York City subway system, the New York City bus system. He did not shut down the city or the state, and particularly New York City, where you have many, many, many people from Europe, Asia coming in at all times, and New York was the epicenter of this. Other governors have been even worse. Looking at you, Ron DeSantis in Florida. You, Doug, forgot his last name in Arizona. Greg Abbott in Texas. Brian Kemp, who should be in jail for stealing the election. But, now what happened to Republicans hating big government? Now Brian Kemp steps in Georgia, overrules counties and towns who are putting mask mandates that you have to wear a mask in public. He overrules that. I thought Republicans don't like big government. I guess when they could perpetuate the culture war, they like big government. KTGR, did anyone say what the 20th was? Again, July 26th, the expiration of the expanded $600 a week unemployment. 9 days. The expanded $600 unemployment is up. So, again, you got Trump going around doing photo ops with Goya beans. He fired his campaign manager. We'll talk about that later. Biden basically coming out of the basement once every couple days, but he ain't proposing anything. Pelosi, welcome new status quo member. Oh, I lost your name. I'll tell you in a minute. I'm live. Can you call me back in an hour? Okay. I'll call you back then. Okay. Sorry, I had to take that. So, welcome new status quo member, Nawamaka. I don't know how to pronounce it. Nawamaka. Welcome. 1,736 members. So, it's just absolutely unbelievable. And by the way, we're not even getting into the problems on the state level. I was just in Kentucky covering the fight for justice for Breonna Taylor. They're telling Kentucky folks, hey, if you can't get your unemployment that you're eligible for, you could meet somebody in person at the end of August. You'll be able to meet somebody in person to get you your unemployment. That's just Kentucky. I've heard horror stories in other states too. People trying to get human beings on the phone or meet somebody in person. All of this going on as they gave corporate America a $4 to $6 trillion. I mean, what do you call it? Sexual favor? That first bailout? Chris Kelly, $5. Police violence, lead and water, 3 strikes laws, drug war, too many issues. All have the same bottleneck. Our representatives. We need to take power. I agree. Catherine Garrett, $5. Extend the $600, then also give it to everyone. Economy safe, citizens happy. They don't care about citizens happy. They care about their donors. I'm going to get into that because wait till you see this story about the donors. So let me read you a little bit about what Trump wants, what the Republicans want, and apparently what the Democrats want. The White House is insisting that Congress include a payroll tax cut as part of the next coronavirus stimulus package, potentially complicating talks with lawmakers by pushing a measure that President Trump has tried but failed to advance for almost a year. Quote, as he has done since the beginning of this pandemic, President Trump wants to provide relief to hardworking Americans who have been impacted by this virus, and one way of doing that is with a payroll tax holiday. He's called on Congress to pass this before, and he believes it must be part of any Phase 4 package. I don't know. Am I missing something? 51 million people have filed for unemployment? I believe they're not on the payroll anymore, Donald. A payroll tax holiday? I mean, that's good for people that are working, but what about the 51 million people that aren't working? That's like seeing a house burning in front of you and the firefighters going to a house down the block and serving lemonade to people sitting on the patio. Not that lemonade isn't good. A tax holiday, a payroll tax holiday would be nice. I think it's just a diversionary tactic for Trump and the Republicans to rob Social Security because the payroll tax cut the payroll tax technically pays for Social Security and Medicare. Of course, it really doesn't, because there's no such thing as taxes paying for these things. I believe in modern monetary theory. We have all the money to pay for all of this. The government prints the money for war. The government prints the money for tax cuts, deregulation, bailouts for banks. The government prints the money for subsidies to the banking industry, the fossil fuckers, big pharma, Silicon Valley. We got all the money for all these things, but we have been fed this lie about taxes. But I digress. 460 people watching right now, 311 have pressed that like button. By the way, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do me a favor. Subscribe. Click the bell for all notifications. They still won't notify you half the time, but better than nothing. So Trump wants a payroll tax cut, which makes no sense, as I just explained. McConnell is saying he will launch negotiations on the next coronavirus bill next week. So we're 9 days in. We got 9 days. Next week is the 20th. So if they start negotiations on the 20th, the expiration is the 25th. Things usually don't happen that quickly in Washington unless it's for banks. If it's for banks, they could negotiate within 2 days, trillions of dollars. If it's for oil companies, banks, pharmaceutical companies, both parties will do it very, very quickly. But if it's expiration for unemployment, food stamps, you name it, for working people, for now poor people, I don't think they could do it in a week, because they're not going to prioritize doing it in a week. Key Republican senators have been cool to the idea of a payroll tax cut in the past, partly because it only helps workers who are actually employed. I hate to say it, but got to agree with the Republicans. Congress has rebuffed Trump's previous demands for a payroll tax cut for individuals, instead approving a round of checks to individual Americans as part of the $2 trillion CARES Act. But now, as Congress and the administration prepare to write what will likely be the last major coronavirus spending bill, Trump is again demanding a payroll tax cut. He and some allies view the policy as an effective way to stimulate the economy. Quote, Stephen Moore, quote, high-ranking White House officials have told me that they will not sign a Phase 4 deal without a payroll tax cut. Oh, let's listen to Stephen Moore, the same fucking Republican asshole who told George Bush to cut taxes after launching a war, first time in American history. Cut taxes twice, both time for billionaires. Let's listen to Stephen Moore. The payroll tax is 7.65% tax that is taken out of workers' paychecks and goes to fund Social Security and Medicare. Again, that's not true. Lawmakers of both parties have been anticipating the upcoming coronavirus bill will contain a new round of checks to individuals, something Trump has signaled public support for. But it's unclear whether the legislation could include a new round of stimulus checks and a payroll tax cut, especially since McConnell has been aiming to keep the overall price tag at around $1 trillion, a figure Democrats say is much too low. So let's just get down to it and cut the bullshit. First of all, keep those super chats coming. Love you. Donald Trump, Republicans, a payroll tax cut? No. That doesn't help the 51 million people unemployed. That doesn't help the people that are still technically employed, but with reduced hours. Democrats, $1 trillion for states, cities, and towns, and local governments. That might sound good, but there's always fine print that the corporate media doesn't cover. Listen, I've been around the block. I've been to now probably 40 states in the last 5 years. I've covered a lot of cities. I've covered a lot of towns. When money gets earmarked for states, cities, and towns, guess what? A lot of that money tends to get diverted to the real estate developers, to foundations, to donors. So you think the money might be going to keep the teachers on the books. You think the money might be going to keep the firefighters, the police, the sanitation workers on the books. But somehow that money always seems to get funneled to a bunch of different places. So $1 trillion to states, cities, and towns might sound good. That's not what should be the signature of the next package. $1,200 check? No. And you might be saying, Jordan, I mean, don't shoot yourself in the foot. I'm not going to reject a $1,200 check. You know what? Be mad at him all you want. Be mad at Bernie. A lot of people are. But didn't Bernie tell us? Didn't Bernie, if he did one thing that will last, say, no, don't start accepting half a loaf. Demand the whole fucking loaf. Excuse my French. $1,200 check? Okay, so then we could do all of this over in 3 months? $1,200 check in New York City might buy you a 6-pack of almond milk. Okay? Just keeping it real. Almond milk's very expensive. California, what's $1,200 going to do for you? Chicago? Philadelphia? Denver? A lot of other places? Your rent might be more than $1,200. $1,200, it's going to go to you. It's going to be out the door within a minute. And then you got to figure out what comes next. So another one-time check, we cannot accept any more Band-Aids for a deep gunshot wound. No payroll tax cut. The problem isn't the people currently working. They don't need a tax cut. It's the 51 billion people who have filed for unemployment. And I hear absolutely nothing. Thank you, Tanya H. €5, swear jar. I hear nothing about tens of millions of people who have lost their health care, which suddenly Joy Reid has seen the light. Wait for that one. Joy Reid. The original Bernie bro, or Bernie bro pusher. He's not a Democrat. Now she's pro-Medicare for all. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Bernie's out. No threat to the plutocracy. Well, maybe Medicare for all is a good idea. People, frankly, need to organize and fast. And even though it can't be in person for safety reasons, I'm saying if they offer you another shit sandwich of a $1,200 check, reduced unemployment, which is probably what it's going to be, I think you're lucky if you get $200 expanded on health insurance. It's $600 now. I would be very surprised if Republicans agreed to an expanded $200 unemployment, which the Democrats have no leverage because Nancy drove the getaway car when Republicans robbed the Treasury in the first bill. They could have not got $4 to $6 trillion for their donors if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer didn't go along with it. Right there. She drove the getaway car. So are we just going to accept being run over by the oligarchy? Are we just going to accept millions of people being evicted from their homes? Kamala Harris comes out today with a bill that ban evictions and foreclosures for a year, bar utilities from cutting off access to power, water, or gas, prohibit landlords from raising tenants' rent, prevent negative credit reporting during economic downturn. I wonder why she's coming out with this bill right now. Any ideas? It's a good bill. Credit to her. Credit where credit is due. But isn't it always interesting when these legislators come out with these bills? A, when they know it could never get passed, so they're just basically virtue signaling, pretending that they're for these things with no real political downside. She knows this isn't getting through because all of their top money men and donors are developers, real estate, the landlords of America. But, hey, she put it on paper. Credit to her. But right now, there is no national ban on evictions and foreclosures. It is expiring now. I am already seeing on Reddit where you actually could get a lot of good information. People being dragged to housing courts. You want to go to a housing court during a pandemic? Could you afford the lawyer? Because I'll tell you who has more money. The landlords and the real estate companies, not you. Where is Nancy Pelosi? Yeah, Republicans are awful, but I thought the Democrats are the party of the people. I'm kidding, of course. Where is? Let me say it. Where is? Demands in front of cameras, organizing people, even if it has to be online, for a immediate universal basic income. It expires when medical professionals say we are out of the woods and it is safe for people to go back to work, full stop, and it is safe to hire people back. We don't need unemployment that expires in the next 3 months down the road. We don't need another $1,200 check. You bailed out the banks with no strings attached in 2008 in 2 days. No strings attached. Why are so many strings attached when it comes to rescuing working people? I don't hear Joe Biden talking about what we're going to do for all these people who have lost health care. I hear him putting out political bumper stickers of let's save Obamacare, expand Obamacare. What the fuck is Obamacare going to do if you're sinking? I can't afford Obamacare in New York. You go state by state, Obamacare is more expensive than a lot of just buying something private separately. You got to pay deductibles for an Obamacare plan. Do you have the money to pay the deductible for an Obamacare plan right now if your expanded $600 a month is about to expire? That $1,200 check you got, long gone. Somebody just said it. Max, where is Bernie's leadership on this? I mean, he can't force it to happen, but he could certainly get up in front of a camera. He could certainly demand more from Trump, the Republicans, and the Democrats. I have not heard any Democrats other than Rashida Tlaib, Bernie Sanders, Ro Khanna, talking about just straight up give people $2,000 a month, married couples more, add X amount per child, give it to them in a debit card or replenishable every month until this thing is over. No expiration date. Hell, the Bush tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires was for 10 years. It expired in 10 years. So why for working people does it keep expiring in 3 months? Isn't that interesting? It's almost like the priorities are vastly different depending on how much money you have and your standing and your class standing. And adding plutocrat insult to injury, now the Republicans are trying to basically extort schools to open up, dangling money over them if they rush kids back to school. The White House and Senate Republicans are developing plans to prod schools to reopen by attaching incentives or conditions to tens of billions of dollars of new aid as part of the next coronavirus relief bill. People involved in the talks Wednesday said. Deliberations come as McConnell prepares to unveil legislation next week that would serve as the GOP's opening offer for negotiations on what would be Congress's last major coronavirus spending bill before the November elections. Republican officials familiar with the negotiations said the bill may include somewhere between $50 billion and $100 billion for elementary and secondary schools, with one person familiar with the talks saying the target was about $70 billion. So let me get something straight here before we get to endangering children. When Bernie Sanders proposed free public college, which would have cost $80 billion a year, these very same fuckers were screaming, how are you going to pay for it? We don't have the money. How are you going to pay for it? But now, Republicans could just magically fart out of their ass $70 billion to $100 billion for schools to get kids back to school during a pandemic? Duder, no members call tonight. I'll explain why later. Got a couple public service announcements for you in a bit. So, what happened here? I thought, how are you going to pay for everything? How are we going to pay for all this? Now, you want to talk about, well, children are less at risk, yada, yada, yada. Well, frankly, I don't know if that's true or not true. What I do know is children might be less at risk because children have largely been at home for the last 4 months, not out and about. If you're a responsible parent, that is. And if out and about, wearing a mask. And even if they are less at risk, that doesn't mean they can't be carriers for it. So it might not affect them, but what happens when they go home if they are able to be carriers for it and transmit it to their parents? The truth is, we do not know everything about this virus. Trump certainly doesn't. Cuomo doesn't. Ron DeSantis sure as hell doesn't. Brian Kemp doesn't. Remember Brian Kemp a couple months ago? Oh, you could be asymptomatic and have it? The teachers would be at risk too. Great point. Just this corruption has no fucking end. And the most infuriating part about this, all of this is so simple. They literally, for the last decade, have printed money to rescue criminal bankers. They have printed money to basically bribe oil executives, just handing out subsidies. They've printed money. Here you go. Pharmaceutical companies. But they can't print money for the people. La King, I'm spewing nonsense? Tell me why I'm wrong. Sam Oser, hey stranger, $2. Cuss jar since YouTube sucks. I agree. By the way, if you're new here, we got 570 viewers. Subscribe to this channel, please. And press the like button right under the live stream. All of this, by the way, if you think, if you think John Wayne is coming with the rescue van, here's a story. Gotta love this. Gave me a tickle. Joe Biden's donors, he's gotten a massive increase in donors recently. James Murdoch, the son of Rupert Murdoch, gave $615,000 to Biden's victory fund. Meg Whitman, CEO of media company Quibi, contributed $500,000. For you California natives, you remember Meg Whitman's run for governor there, when she, basically shamed people on Medicaid, tried to cut California's Medicaid, basically from existence. Just great people. I mean, in fairness to Biden, Hillary Clinton was taking her money too in 2016. But Meg Whitman ran for governor, tried to cut Medicaid, all social welfare plans in California. These are the people the Democrats are embracing as part of the resistance. Bob Iger, executive chairman of Disney. Oh, gotta love Disney now. Just forcing Mickey and Minnie and Daffy Duck there. Reopen Disney. Amid a pandemic. Florida just had 13,000 new cases. Ken Frazier, the CEO of Merck, another corrupt company, if you know anything about Big Pharma. But the key part of this, many of Biden's bundlers, those raising millions of dollars for Joe Biden, told CNBC that the renewed effort by these business leaders is linked to the fact that Bernie Sanders and more liberal candidates are no longer a threat to becoming president. The big money donors are capitalists. For a minute, Bernie was close to locking it up, but then came California. They were petrified of Trump and horrified by Bernie. Now they actually have a choice. Before they didn't. said Florida businessman and Biden bundler John Morgan, who, by the way, happens to be a major fundraiser for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, another corrupt scoundrel. Here is the money quote. Joe is a known entity, and while he is socially liberal, he is not someone who is erratic. He is thoughtful and focused on the entire country, not one faction of the country, the bundler said. Let me translate this for you. Nothing will fundamentally change. A known entity, meaning we've had a couple cigars and champagne with him in the back rooms. We know what he'll do and won't do. I love the socially liberal part. What's socially liberal about not legalizing marijuana, giving the police $300 billion extra for community policing? What exactly makes him socially liberal? He was for the Hyde Amendment as of 5 minutes ago. Oh, I missed super chats? My gosh. Thank you, Alex Endicott, $5. Hashtag swear jar. Love ya. Jason Milton, $5. Biden is going to have an easy ride to the election, chilling in his basement. The woke establishment has super PACs now for Biden, and Pelosi is on vacation. Jason, I'm not so sure about that. I'm going to get into some thoughts later. Yes, doesn't look good for Trump right now, but I'm seeing some things here. We'll see. All of this, to me, just, if you needed any more evidence, folks, we do not live in a country. We don't have a government. Say what you want about Europe, but by and large, based on the benefits they give their citizens, based on basically just the way government is structured, there's basic concern for their citizens. Human dignity. Yeah, you have class systems and income inequality in other countries, but you have certain rights as citizens. And those rights are not dictated by corporations. They're dictated as just being a citizen. Here, you don't have those rights. Freedom? Well, how free can you be if you are literally hanging from a cliff 9 days from now, once that unemployment ends? Is that freedom? Just terrible. Now, moving on. And by the way, if you have an unemployment story or you have a story about your experience during coronavirus, email info@statuscoup.com, info@statuscoup.com. I try to interview as many people as possible. Definitely send me your story, especially if you are one of these people that are up Schitt's Creek in 9 days. Definitely send your story. And also, sign up. Become a member, statuscoup.com/join. Join us for as low as $5 a month. I will, if you're new here, I will remind you what we're all about. And then I have a short announcement to make before we move on to the next topic. We go out in the field. We've been all over this country in the last 2 years.
Standing Rock. I've been with you. I've been with you since Standing Rock.
Wow, you got me on right now.
We're doing it, baby. We're going to South Bend. It's time to show the real Mayor Pete.
In 100 days, they tore down 1,000 houses in 100 days.
Thank you, whether it's Standing Rock or Flint or everything else you do. You guys, it's not even like watching news. It's just watching truth,
It's not me and you, Jordan. It's the ruling class. It's David Koch. It's the Walton family, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It's them, not us, that benefit from these illegal offensive wars.
Come on over here.
Whoa!
We're here at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, and you are going to see live the actual caucus process. We are here.
We go out in the field, and we give the microphone back to the people.
Yo! Coup! I know who you are, yo!
How you doing, man?
You the man, yo!
So, if you're new, that's what we do. We just got back from a reporting trip, and I'm hoping we could take another reporting trip in the next few weeks. Which brings me to a couple announcements. Number one, we were going to have a member... Ooh, is my mic on? Yes. We were going to have a members call tonight. Have to postpone it for a couple of reasons. Number one, bottom line, I don't want to go into such crazy detail because it's not anybody's real business. But Jen, the co-founder of Status Coup, she is currently seeking some treatment for some health issues she has. Nothing physical, thank God. She gave me permission to share this, that she's just, like a lot of people, has some issues that she has to deal with. In her case, some issues she's dealt with or not dealt with from childhood. So she is currently seeking treatment for that. So she'll be taking some time off. Don't know exactly when she's going to be back, but I am in contact with her. She knows that she has my support. So she will hopefully be back, whenever she's feeling a little better. She wanted me to explain it and share this with you because she, and I agree, doesn't want there to be, stigma attached to mental health. It's no different than a physical health problem that you might need to go rehab and deal with. So she is currently getting that treatment, and I will definitely send her your well wishes because I know she's obviously a big part of what we do here. So that's it. Honestly, she does a lot of the back end stuff that I don't do. So I have to find out from her when she's, feeling a little better, how to even set up the members call. It's through Zoom. It's like 7 different steps. So once I know how to set up the members call, we will have a members call. But I don't know how to set it up. And while she's out, I'm kind of doing multiple jobs now. So just being transparent, that's what's going on. She's a very, very great person. She bleeds Status Coup and what I believe in, which is giving the microphone back to the people. But like a lot of people, we all have our issues. We all have our past. And that's also part of this country. Part of this country, one of her concerns has been just, the job. Because health, unfortunately, we can't, her health care is attached to her husband, but with this country, United Corporations of America, a lot of it is anxiety. People are anxious. Well, if I go take care of myself, whether it's physical, whether it's mental health, whatever it is, alcohol abuse, whatever rehab you need, people are worried because I can't take time off of work, or am I going to be covered for this? Shouldn't be that way in America. So that's the deal. She's getting treatment, and we're supporting her as best as we can. Thank you, Chris, $5. Jen, take time and get well. Secondly, another announcement. Got a few. Nothing against him, but we are looking for a new camera person, an editor. Frankly, this is, again, not a knock on Jamal, who's been working with us for a couple months, but unfortunately, what happened was he doesn't actually have a driver's license. It just is what it is. And he was going to take his test to get his license in March, but it got canceled because that was right when the coronavirus happened. And you guys don't see all of it, but it's a lot if you're doing the reporting in the field and have to do all of the driving. So he understands. I just told him I'll definitely probably still use him in New York when I go out and cover protest or whatever else. But when I'm traveling in other places, I can't drive hours and hours and do the interviews and book, because I'm also booking guests and reaching out to people on the fly. I don't want to be texting and driving. I've been yelled at for it. So we need somebody with a driver's license. And of course, somebody, the technical aspect, somebody in New York too. So I don't want a camera person anywhere else. If you're in New York, you have a driver's license, audio, editing, video, the live view, how to use that, email me. I'm going to figure out how to post the job too. She usually does that. But email me, info@statuscoup.com. good attitude, knows how to drive, knows the tech, wants to come on camera, and believes in giving the microphone back to the people. So, again, I just want to be clear. I would recommend him elsewhere. It's not a knock on him, but for what we do, I definitely, I just need someone to split the driving with me when we're on the road. So I got Jen out there, Jamal out there, no members call. Did I miss anything else? Yes, that's it. And I'm going to be doing the job of several people now, so go easy on me if I don't respond to your email right away. So, but you can help us by becoming a member. Why are you shaking your head?
No, that's wonderful. Yes, everyone needs to become a member.
Everyone become a member, yes.
I was shaking my head at something work related.
Oh, okay. So, that's it. And by the way, if you want me to relay anything to Jen, you could send a nice message, info@statuscoup.com. info@statuscoup.com. And if you want to apply for the camera editor position, info@statuscoup.com. Don't apply if you don't have the qualifications, please. Anyway, moving on. A viewer sent me this a couple days ago. Sorry, I'm getting to it now. Portland is like a fucking war zone right now. Anybody watching this in Portland? Before I tell you what's going on in Portland, just so you kind of see how the police have been, this is video we got a couple weeks ago in Portland. Thank you for the super chat, John Chavez, 1999. Stay up and safe. Don't let those military dudes get you or your people on the ground. All real. We're about to get to the military dudes. Let me remind you, this was what was going on in Portland a few weeks ago during Black Lives Matter protests. That was the Portland police. That was Portland PD a couple weeks ago during Black Lives Matter protests. No. That's not like a foreign country. And that shouldn't happen in a foreign country either way. Portland, Oregon. Okay? So since then, you know how there was this big hubbubaloo because Trump threatened to send the military into cities? Well, the military since then has gone into Portland, Oregon. Because Black Lives Matter protests have continued in Portland, Oregon. I just don't see any media coverage of it. So the Portland police, who are fucking out of control and should be sanctioned and At this point, I think we go further than defund. How about just abolish? Because that is not a police department. That is an occupying army. That's them coming to lock them up. That sound. So here we go. President Trump says Portland protests was totally out of control, but the feds very much quelled it. Trump vowed to take over cities where violence continues. 2 days after a federal officer shot a Portland protester in the head with a projectile, President Donald Trump decried liberal cities, including Portland, and drew a correlation between calls to defund police and increase gun violence. So let me just tell you about that. Federal officers repeatedly lobbed tear gas canisters into crowds of protesters surrounding the Mark O. Hatfield United States Courthouse on Saturday night, hours after hitting a demonstrator in the head with a projectile. City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty this afternoon issued grave condemnation of the presence and actions of federal officers deployed to Portland by Trump to quell an uprising. Quote, their presence brought on an escalation of violence towards protesters, an extreme response to a movement challenging police violence. This recklessness and aggressive behavior has now put someone in the hospital. This protester is still fighting for their life, and I want to be clear, this should have never happened. If this continues, a life will be taken, and it won't matter whether a federal officer or Portland police officer did it. It won't bring the person back. Let me just show you video of this. So it ain't theoretical. Trump did it. He sent in federal troops to cities, and they are lobbing tear gas. They shot a protester point blank with a projectile. What the fuck, man? And I love how this next part really tickled me. Mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, calls on federal officers to leave Portland. We do not need or want their help. Wheeler does not have the authority to oust federal officers, but he can ask them to leave. In a series of tweets published Tuesday afternoon, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler said he gave Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Chad Wolf an ultimatum. Either keep federal agents inside of the buildings they claim to protect or make them leave Portland altogether. I told the Acting Secretary that my biggest immediate concern is the violence federal officers brought to our streets in recent days and the life-threatening tactics his agent used. We do not need or want their help. You know, I would respect that comment if your police weren't just as bad. This is kind of the equivalent when you're looking at what the mayor just said of, get the fuck out of here. We could brutalize protesters all on our own. We don't need your help. Our police are already brutal enough. I mean, hold on. Portland. Let me find that.
You know what's happening right now?
What?
Mark Zuckerberg is talking live with Dr. Fauci. How disgusting.
Here's another video. So let me just reset. Trump has sent in the military. The military is shooting tear gas and pepper spray. The military is shooting projectiles at point blank range. One protester went to the hospital. All of this, by the way, for Black Lives Matter protests that continue, not getting national attention that they're continuing. And the mayor of Portland is telling, get the military out here. You're brutalizing protesters. Well, Mr. Mayor, what did you do when your military, when your military, i.e. the police, were doing this?
This is an unlawful assembly. Leave downtown Portland to the west.
Hey, fucker! Fuck you, bitch! Fuck you, pig! Fuck you! Fuck you! Get out of my car! Fuck you, bitch! Fuck you!
And pick your poison, folks. You could either have the military brutalize you in America or the police brutalize you in America. David Melford, $4.99. Trump, law and order. JFK, those who make peaceful revolution impossible, make violent revolution inevitable. You know what? I'm not calling on violent revolution, but if this continues, I don't think it's going to be peaceful. This is outrageous and needs to stop. People are going to get killed. All of this to protect a federal building, because protesters have been protesting outside federal buildings. You know, Trump is living in this world that if he just exerts militaristic law and order bravado, that's going to work and get him reelected. The problem is, it might have worked pre-pandemic, but you're in a pandemic now. 51 million people have lost their jobs. Tens of millions have lost their health insurance. You're living on another planet as far as the coronavirus risk. You're saying, oh, it's just a flare-up. We'll get it under control. It's not just a flare-up. We're setting record cases every day. And his response is just more authoritarianism, fascism. And by the way, I haven't heard the opposition party, the Democrats, condemning this either. Where are the Democrats on what the military are doing to Portland protesters, as well as what the police were doing to Portland protesters before? So, I don't know. Something doesn't change. Maybe I got to go to Portland. As my girlfriend faints. Ricky Perez Jr., $2. People have been killed. Yes. It's outrageous. Outrageous. So I'm going to try to get in touch with some people in Portland, get some interviews with people on the ground to show you what's going on there from people on the ground. So hopefully I'll have that later this week. And my last topic for the day. If you're familiar, for the 500 people watching, Joy Reid, who is now the replacement for Chris Matthews, she was not such a friend to progressives for the last 5 years. I would say she basically gaslit the country. Also, I would say, as a prominent African-American voice on MSNBC, definitely shall we say, was a influence on older black voters in terms of whether Bernie Sanders was radical or whose policies that could help them, or if he even cared about black people. Just to take you down memory lane of Joy Reid.
The man who is leading in most of the polls throughout the country is not only not a registered Democrat, has not registered as a Democrat, has essentially refused to register as a Democrat, and is now tweeting this morning, it's trending, that the Democratic establishment, that means you guys, the Democratic establishment will not stop him from getting the nomination. He is presenting what he's doing as a hostile takeover, not a merger with the party that he caucuses with in the Senate. So my question again is, do you worry, as chairman, as somebody who's dealt with the Sanders team, that some of whom voted for Jill Stein and still were allowed to come in and negotiate the rules, do you not worry that if Sanders is denied the nomination, even under rules he agreed to, that there will be civil war in the Democratic Party?
You know what? Everybody understands. What's different about 2020, there's a lot of PTSD about 2020.
Civil war, that's a loaded term. Hostile takeover. I fucking wish Bernie did a hostile takeover. He was too busy calling Joe Biden his friend. I mean, there's more of that. I haven't even gotten into her pushing the Bernie bros propaganda. Well, apparently Joy Reid, Bernie's gone and she has seen the light. Some might say, seen Jesus. I'm blocked, so I had to take this from somebody else. Joy Reid today. I will admit to being a past Medicare for All skeptic with a lot of questions about what happened to union negotiated PPO plans. Parentheses, though a good friend whose family is a GM family in Flint told me she would far prefer Medicare for All. I can't think of one good reason today to keep the current system. That was in response to something Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley tweeted. She tweeted, explain to me how you could live through the COVID-19 crisis and not support Medicare for All. So, there's two responses to this, or two possible responses. One would be, well, Jordan, isn't the whole point of what you're doing and what progressive activists are doing is to try to get people like Joy Reid to see the light, to try to expand the coalition, to try and get these corporate establishment folks over to our side so that we could topple the corporate Democratic establishment? Isn't that the whole point? Theoretically, yes. And I believe in, people could change their views. In politics, they generally change their views when there's motivation, when it's an election year, when it's convenient, or when it's low risk for them to change their views. So that's number one. Accept the evolution, embrace, and then demand her to use her platform to convince her voters, convince her voters, which would be the viewers. The second option is to say, go fuck yourself. You are insincere. The reason you are now coming to see the light and Jesus is because Bernie is no longer a threat. The likely next president said, even if it passes Congress, I would veto Medicare for All, because his donors won't let him ever pass that, because that would take away money from their gravy train. Why are you now seeing the light? Now, was the 30 million people before uninsured not a crisis point for you? You needed an extra 30 million to be uninsured to now see the light at the insanity of this system? It just seems like, what are you seeing now that wasn't abundantly clear before? I'm going to go with number two. Some people might not like that, because I don't think it's sincere. And most importantly, she might have tweeted that, but I would be stunned if you started seeing Joy Reid at 7 o'clock Eastern on MSNBC pushing Medicare for All, or trying to push Biden to the Medicare for All position. Why? Because Comcast signs her checks. And Comcast does not want Medicare for all. Corporations do not want Medicare for all because Wall Street does not want Medicare for all. We always look at the big pharma donations, but don't forget, the Wall Street mega banks, the Wall Street mega funds, they're all invested up to their greedy little eyeballs in healthcare stocks, in healthcare research and development, in big pharmaceutical companies. They don't want healthcare for people to be free at the point of service. And, you know, the bottom line is you're a dollar late. What are you, a dollar short, a day late? You're a smart person. You might be somebody I don't agree with politically, but she's a smart cookie. She saw that this system was beyond repair long before Bernie Sanders. But she toed the line, just like everybody else in corporate media toes the line, because they have wonderful health insurance. I used to work at MSNBC. It was pretty damn good health insurance. Low copays. I don't remember the deductible being that high. Now, I will gladly come on and eat crow if she starts pushing for Medicare for all on air, if she starts pushing Biden, push everybody. Hey, have Bernie on, have a discussion. But I will not forgive or forget the disgusting coverage, challenging Bernie, saying, oh, maybe he's out of step with black people. It wasn't enough to get arrested during the civil rights movement. Oh, he moved up to Vermont. Not a lot of black people there. Oh, he talks about the economics so much when it comes to black people, but racism isn't only economics. Meanwhile, I never heard a fucking word from her on that Joe Biden literally pushed the legislation that locked up black men for a generation. Which one's a little bit more problematic? I didn't hear Joy Reid condemning Joe Biden for the crime bill. I didn't hear Joy Reid condemning Joe Biden for repealing Glass-Steagall, which led to the 2008 financial crash, which, by the way, disproportionately foreclosed homes on black people. I didn't hear Joy Reid condemning Biden that much for the Iraq war. A lot of black people went to that war. Certainly haven't heard Joy Reid condemning Biden for taking money from JP Morgan, all these Wall Street banks that charge higher interest rates to black and brown people. But Bernie Bros, he's not a Democrat. Racially insensitive. The best one was, I don't know if you remember during the campaign, but Bernie was actually in Flint, and he was going to give a speech that his campaign billed as a big address on his policies for African Americans. And he decided, which I think was a mistake actually, but he decided to not speak and just give the microphone to a panel of speakers, including Cornel West, I think Dr. Victoria Dooley, who was is she a doctor or a nurse? I forget. I think she's a nurse. But Bernie basically was part of the panel, but he did not do the speech. He gave it to a panel. Joy Reid went nuts. Nuts, I tell you. YouTube won't let you send the super chat. I see a super chat. Tony East Coast $9.99. Keep up the good work. Thank you for giving the people a voice. Always. Thank you for your support. So, Joy Reid, particularly with black viewers and voters, did almost as much as any other figure I could think of to gaslight, to make Bernie sound like a radical, to make Bernie sound like some kind of communist, to especially older black voters. Now she sees the light on Medicare for all because there's a mass epidemic of unemployed people. I got news for you. There was a pretty mass epidemic of people without health insurance before the coronavirus, and she didn't give a damn. So I don't care for her eureka moment. And I will definitely pay attention if she starts talking this progressive bravery on her show. I'll watch so you don't have to. So before I go, a couple things. Number one, again, if you can, I'm not going to lie. Things are going to be a little tougher for me the next few weeks. Like I said, Jen's, taking care of herself, getting some treatment. So I got to figure out how to do a lot of the things on the back end. It would really, really help to grow the Army. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. I will figure out how to set up the members call through Zoom. There's a couple steps. So once I figure out how to do that, I will announce the makeup date for the members call. I want to take another reporting road trip in the near future, so I will let you know once we got a new cameraman for that. And we got to grow this Army so that Status Coup can continue to grow and be strong and be in the field during the pandemic and after. I mean, I'm going to continue to be safe and not crazy travel because almost every state right now has increasing cases, but we're still going to try and get out there within reason and be safe. And obviously, when things get a lot better, get back out there. So definitely, if you can, sign up. If you're already a member, spread the coup. Expand the community. Send your friends, family, anybody. Tell them about Status Coup. YouTube is doing a number on this channel. Today was the largest audience we've had probably in weeks. YouTube has been going out of its way, not just with this channel, but a lot of channels, to suppress us. So another important thing you could do, let me see if Colin sent me the graphic for this. Not yet. Sign up for our text list. Right now we have 1,060. I think 1,060 people have signed up for our text list. We gotta get that up quick. Why that's important? This basically beats YouTube's suppression. So YouTube might not notify anyone when we're live, but the text will go out to you when we're live. I'm trying to do it every time we're live, send out a text. It gets expensive because we have to buy credits each time. It's a whole fucking scam. But it's worth it if we can get the audience up by alerting people when we're live. So all you got to do is send a text message right now. COUP, type COUP to 370-370. That's COUP to 370-370. If we can get that up, we'll get our audience numbers up. If we can get our audience numbers up, we will expand and grow. Let me read a couple questions, comments, concerns, super chats before I go. Jordan, please check out Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. They go into detail about Joy Reid. I don't know who you're talking about, but feel free to email me, info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com. Sub to Status Coup for Jordan and Jen and all the team and the people they are providing a platform for. Correct. Has everyone subscribed to this channel? That's a good question. I hope everyone has. Jordan learning to be a full stack reporter. I agree. Got to do everything these days. The text system works only inside the U.S. as far as I know. That is correct, unfortunately. For international people, I'll be sending a smoke signal.
Someone asked what you thought about the Barry Weiss resignation letter.
I said it yesterday.
Oh, well, someone just asked, Jordan. No yelling.
Cry me a river. Cry me a river. Barry Weiss. I give less than 0 fucks about Barry Weiss resigning. I think it's a disgrace that he even gets attention. I've read 2 of her pieces. They're both some of the worst writing I've ever seen. She's a privileged socialite snob, who, by the way, talk about cancel culture. I'm pretty sure she tried to get a Palestinian professor fired from a school because he had harsh words for Israel. I mean, aren't you a hypocrite then? I mean, by the way, can I just say something about this cancel culture thing? I think it's much to do about nothing. You want to know something? There's a lot of people and a lot of sins that should have been canceled a long time ago. And certain people should not have a platform.
I think you should do a members video and go into...
Maybe I'll do a members video on cancer culture.
Definitely.
Because frankly, if Tucker Carlson wants to spew white supremacism for a living on Fox News, more power to him. But that's not, you don't have a constitutional right to profit off of free speech. He could go out and protest and say, put Ilhan Omar's face up on a poster and say she's attacking our heritage. But advertisers don't have to pay Fox News for that. So I think, frankly, in a sane society, Tucker Carlson wouldn't be on the air. Oh, because sometimes he says populist things? Okay, but what about all the white supremacist things he says? I don't understand this whole, you're canceling people for different views. You know what? Thomas Friedman, David Brooks, I think they're terrible. I think it's outrageous that places like the New York Times, for one David Brooks, for one Thomas Friedman, you could hire, the amount of money they probably make, you could probably hire 7 to 10 reporters somewhere. But I don't think they should be canceled just because they're unoriginal and doofuses. I just think that's the New York Times problem for continually hiring unoriginal doofuses. Thomas Friedman maybe, because he did warmonger a lot for the Iraq War. So I don't say cancel people that are just assholes or have bad views, but like I say, should Bill Kristol be canceled? Absolutely. He has been an influential leader of fake wars and has a lot of blood on his hands. Should, I don't know, people that are shown to be dropping the N-word and being racist as hell in videos from their past be canceled? Depends on the case, but by and large, yeah. Yeah, they should. I mean, I'm sure I've tweeted things in the past out. Don't go looking. I'm sure I've said things in the past, and it's not like that, but it goes case by case. But, if certain people with major platforms, if it's shown that, they're out there and they have spewed really, really terrible things in the past, should they be canceled? It depends on your definition, but I just don't believe in crying crocodile tears for people that are being canceled for racism, sexism, class, whatever. I'm more worried about the people whose rent isn't getting canceled, to be honest. Welcome, new Status Coup member Gerald.
Welcome, Gerald.
Woohoo! Gerald. Welcome to the Coup community. 1,737 members. The United Corporations of America won't get us down. So if you have any specific questions about who should or should not be canceled, you could send them in and I'll answer you.
Someone just asked you to super chat.
Do you think Nick Cannon should be canceled? Rose Gold Money, $2. Nick Cannon said Jews.
He was propagating very dangerous anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. As far as I know, he's a fan of Louis Farrakhan, who praises Hitler. He said white people are all racist and savages, I believe. The Nazis were pleased with what he had to say.
I don't want to say because I don't have the quote in front of me. So get back to me tomorrow and I'll answer. The Farrakhan thing, no, because a lot of people think that. But depending on what he said about the Jews, I'm not sure. I think he should be canceled for his acting, personally, but I saw him in something and stick with the music, I think. I'm not dodging, I just don't know what he said. I wasn't paying attention. Like Roseanne, for example, when her show got canceled, I think she should have been canceled. She said vile, Islamophobic, terrible things. Yeah, she should have been canceled. Maybe the issue isn't cancel culture. Maybe the issue is we allowed these things to stand in the first place for too long. In my opinion. And by the way, the Tom Cotton thing, where everybody was ablaze, an uproar over the New York Times printing that, and then the guy had to resign. I agreed with them. You're literally giving column space to people talking about just discarding the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. I mean, there is, giving space for people with different viewpoints and then giving space to people to spew fascism. So I think should the editor of the New York Times, who, by the way, didn't even read the piece, have accountability? Yeah, I think so. How about we cancel all billionaires and not poor people on Twitter who tweeted something stupid 8 years ago? Depends on who the poor people are. Nick Cannon should stick to music. I like Matt Taibbi's take on this, best in terms of journalist. I'll have to look at what he said. All right, folks. Thanks for sticking with me. Great audience today. I'm going to go have a cocktail with my boo. And I'll be back tomorrow. Remember, info@statuscoup.com. If you have a COVID story, if you're facing the economic cliff, again, 9 days till that expanded $600 expires. Email me, info@statuscoup.com. And if you live in New York, if you're a camera person, if you're an editor, if you know live view, if you can drive, email me, info@statuscoup.com. And email me at info@statuscoup.com if you just want to send a nice word or two about me, maybe some kind words for Jen. I know she'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Sign up as a member, statuscoup.com/join. Sign up for as low as a burnt cup of Starbucks coffee a day. Well, $5 a month for us. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.